Hi, everyone. Kitty Foss here again. I'm here to talk to you about Chiron. Now, Chiron is actually an asteroid as opposed to a planet. And Chiron is what's called, it's the archetype of your wounded healer. It represents the deepest wound you have in your life that you come into this world to work on healing. And often when we're children, that wound is more apparent and we're able to kind of feel what it was like as a child. On your astrology chart, it looks like a key. And that is kind of true for Chiron. It is a key. It's a key to becoming a tool for you to use. So Chiron, has a lesson that it teaches us. And what we do with Chiron is to evolve and to use what is our lesson to become our strength. So depending on what house it's in and what sign it's in, Chiron has many things to teach us. As you explore the energy of this wound, you find that these conversations, these energies help you focus and guide how to use the energy to take yourself to the next level. It is often triggered in those things that are hardest for us to deal with. And what we'd like you to take a look at when you're looking at Chiron and optimize is take a look at how it plays out in your life. One of the things you're going to start to learn to work with is, what is Chiron with? What other symbols are in that same energy? Where is the conversation that often takes place with you in the house with the wound? So I'm going to go through it sign by sign, and you can take a look at, again, the basic graph of where it is. Find out it looks like a key. So Aries, the Chiron wound is about your self-image. It's the image, and the wound is about not being your authentic self. Often your Chiron wound either comes through your mother's line, if it's not one thing, it's your mother, or it comes ancestrally, your Chiron wound. So when your wound is in Aries, you're always looking, what is my authentic self? You often develop a really tough outer persona, like I can deal with it all. But inside, it's because the placement refers to how you feel as a person. Often people with this wound are very tough, but really you're jello inside. But that's an action and reaction to the wound, because Aries is that warrior sign. The healing that comes with it as you learn about your own wound is to encourage confidence and willpower in other people. That's where it's going to help you heal. It's a collective wound, so it helps the collective heal. What's going on in the world right now is, by the way, Chiron isn't going to be in Aries for quite a while. And it's people learning to deal with their authentic self. And that's why we see some of the battles going on. So how you deal with your Chiron wound is, I become more my authentic self, and I encourage others to be exactly who they are. Taurus, if your Chiron wound is in Taurus, it's a wound of comfort and security. Taurus is all about being comfortable and secure and benevolence. You can feel neglected underneath it all. Now remember, this is a constant wound that you're looking at. You can feel neglected, out of value and place. You have a fear of loss, a fear of physical loss, and your heart tends to hold the pains and fears. Taurus healing is to help take this, again, we take this Chiron wound and we use it as a tool for ourselves, is to show the importance and the value of themselves and help them see it, and that helps heal your wound. In Gemini, a Chiron wound is an individual communication and self-expression problem, throat chakra stuff. Often those people who have actually physical lisps and problems with their speech often have this wound in Chiron. You can have social anxiety because this is ruled by that Gemini sign of twin, the duality. It's hard to get to know people to understand. You can feel ignorant and you feel like your communication isn't up to snuff. You're worried about your words, how you say things. To heal this Chiron wound is to embrace different communication styles and to learn actually different physical communications. Maybe you become a master communicator. Maybe you become a person who really works with others and even in speech. You help others by helping them find their voice. That helps you heal your wound. Cancer. If your Chiron wound is in Cancer, it's about love and nourishment. You can feel neglected or abused actually early in life. You feel insecure emotionally and needy. You tend to kind of end up with parasites in your life who kind of suck the life out of you because you have this feeling like, oh, I have to nurture everyone to feel good enough. Cancer wound that you're healing is about learning to accept yourself fully first. Everything about me, the foibles, the things that don't work so well, learning to accept all of that allows me to turn around and teach others to accept it without it becoming kind of that parasitic relationship. So that's what you look for with the healing with the Cancer wound. Leo. Leo is the sign of self. So that Chiron wound is in that fifth house creative expression. You find it hard to express yourself, hard to receive attention. You try to kind of end up shying away. You feel you're not creative, don't have special gifts. Your healing is to find the courage to be yourself, find your own definition, and not be afraid to stand out. Teach yourself not to be afraid to express whatever talents you have in whatever way you want to express them. A Chiron wound in Virgo is the wound about your individual worth. You feel inherently something is wrong with you because there are a lot of messy little pieces and it's unclear. You assume that you can't be fixed, like you've got all these broken pieces. You are bound to being perfect. And so you've got too much damage. So what's the point? That's Virgo. Healing is to learn how to serve others. You don't have to be in control to feel completely able to improve your life. You need to develop generosity and resourcefulness and accept that not everything works together all the time. And then you develop that ability to let go. That's how you use the wound to help others. Libra. A Chiron wound in Libra is relating to the individual relationships and a sense of balance. You come to understand, it's hard for you to understand that relationships can be platonic or relationships can be romantic. You tend to blur those lines. You tend a little bit to be insensitive and maybe use manipulative tactics in order to feel some kind of balance for yourself. You're often afraid to be alone, and you can be a little toxic on others in your demand in relationships. The Libra healing is to learn to compromise. It's to learn to hold the paradox of both pieces of partnerships and avoid unhealthy relationships by learning to love yourself first and getting outside support. This is one of the few of the signs that really could use outside support. You need to develop nurturing and self practices around compassion. So finding ways to be compassionate will help heal that wound for you. Scorpio. Scorpio wound is about self-worth and perceptions, sexuality, death, and transformation. That's what the wound is in. You tend to get away with catastrophic feelings. You have usually can suffer some kind of physical or psychological trauma early on in life. You feel kind of misery and guilt, like somehow you're responsible for everything, even when you may not have done anything. To heal the Scorpio wound in Chiron is to turn pain into strength and beauty and to help teach others about transformation and renewal that leads to a healthy life, that at every moment we can start over. Learning to help others see that helps you stay in that piece of the Scorpion energy. Sagittarius. A Sagittarius Chiron wound is about beliefs, morals, and values. You have unconventional beliefs, and sometimes they're even around sexuality. You feel that something is wrong with you, and you have a belief that not everyone understands what truth is. You have a hard time accepting that there are different truths. You believe that no one can see who you are, like you're either so deep or so different. Your healing is to realize that there's nothing wrong with you and embrace the fact that we all have truths. We all have ways to nurture and accept those in other people and kind of celebrate them and let go of those people who just don't accept you. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to dislike them. You can just send them with blessings on. That's how you help heal your wound throughout your life. Capricorn. Capricorn wound is about the individual's need for stability. You tend to see yourself as wounded in your reputation. It's always about they did this to me, because you want some more control. You feel much pressure and that you've got to protect your reputation and get your fair shake going through. The way you heal that is that you recognize that everyone who values your hard work is the person you want to work with, versus that not everybody is going to see that you've worked hard. You also have to learn to value it for yourself and learn that what's important is how you see your reputation. You help guide others on how to develop their reputations and work with the people that appreciate them. And that allows you to find those people that appreciate you. You don't have to get your piece of the pie all the time. Sometimes your piece of the pie is helping others get theirs. Aquarius. The Aquarius wound, and that actually happens to be mine, is that feeling is you're just not good enough. No matter how hard you work, you just didn't come. You're kind of always into stacking yourself up against people. You feel like you have a difficulty fitting in society that's just kind of too weird. And what the Aquarian healing is about is being the visionary, realizing I am different and that makes me strong. And that peace helps other people accept their difference and become accepted in society. And that's how you help heal your Aquarian your Aquarian wound. You help others to examine their own values. Pisces. Pisces wound is a difficult wound because it's the wound of faith. You kind of feel overall betrayed by humanity and spirit and source and all of those things. You feel like you've been a victim of the world and spirit is not always there to take care of you. You're kind of a natural cynic. And the healing comes when you learn to work in society. Is the restrictions that have happened are due because other people have placed limitations. And you learn to teach people they can go beyond their limitations. They can go beyond those restrictions they were taught, and you help them change their perspective, therefore changing your own perspective and being able to let go of that cynicism. Now, those are briefly what they're like in the sign they're in. But that conversation of the sign they're in takes place in a house. So example, mine happens to be Aquarius, and my wound is about not feeling good enough. But it takes place in the second house of values and stability. So I literally underneath in that wound feel I'm not good enough to be stable, like I'm not going to be taken care of. So that's where that wound happens. So I'm going to go house by house, and it's going to be in question form. So you take what is your element, your sign of your Chiron, and put it together with these questions. So in the first house, it's who am I and why don't I fit in? I feel odd in groups. In the second house, it's why am I not valued? Why am I an outsider? I never feel quite good enough to be in a group. In the third house is why don't I think right? What's wrong with my mind? Why are there limits imposed on what I must think? And you question everything presented to you. In the fourth house, you're thinking, why am I not accepted by my family? I am just always going to be a loner. There's no other way for me to do this. In the fifth house, why can't I love that inner child in me and have fun and be creative? I don't have any healing to do. There's nothing creative about me. In the sixth house is why do I push myself and feel so responsible for others? I must have to work very, very hard to be the right kind of person. In the seventh house, why am I rejected in love? It must be a deficit in me. Nobody could possibly love me. I validate myself by how others see me rather than how I've learned to see myself. In the eighth house, why do people want to take control away? Why can't I have the power? Sometimes intimacy is too much for me in that eighth house. Ninth house, what do I really believe? What is the truth? I search for truth in places outside of myself rather than within. in the 10th house. Why isn't what I do perfect or good enough? Why can't people accept my person that I am? I am not noticed for what I do. I don't get the same as others. In the 11th house, why can't I find friends or colleagues to like me? I don't seem to fit in anywhere. And in the 12th house, why don't I have anything special about me in my life? What secrets do other people have that I don't have? I want to understand reality, especially mine. So again, I take my wound and the sign it's in, and I look at the questions in that house. And that's where the conversation, that archetype of the wounded healer, takes place. The wound isn't to be healed, it's to become a tool. That is for Chiron. When you look at your Chiron on your chart, again, it's the key. Have any questions? Please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.